Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Not So Small Business Webcast. We're your hosts. I'm Brian Moran.
And I'm Kelly Brozyna.
Hello, Kelly.
How are you doing, Brian?
I'm fantastic. Kelly, this month's webcast is all about finances, and I'm excited to welcome our guests today. First, we have Rafael Mata, who is the Vice President of Business Development and co-founder of Gambit Services, a consulting firm specializing in strategic solutions for government, business, nonprofit, and educational institutions. He's also a senior consultant for the new NJSBDC Capital team. And our second guest today is Nieves Chanthasoto, who is the founder and CEO of Ledger Lanes, a financial services company for small and mid-sized business owners. And so with that, I'd like to welcome Rafael and Nieves to the Not So Small Business Webcast. Welcome.
Great to be here.
Into our first inaugural webcast too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
It is a pleasure to be here.
This is exciting. So Kelly, I'm going to let you ask the first question, but I just want to say that this is the topic that keeps business owners up at night. When you ask them, how's everything, how's business, 8 out of 10 of them are going to say, when we ask them what's keeping them up at night, it's something to do with finances. So I think that we have two great guests to help our viewers and our listeners sleep better at night.
And just one add-on too is that we do numerous amount of surveys and focus groups and try to find out what the businesses truly need. And capital is one of the main topics that constantly come up. So thank you both for attending today and being on our first webcast. So first question is to both of you. What is the financial state of most of New Jersey small businesses? Is New Jersey a healthy state? And, how is the inflation and, supply chain issues or labor shortages? Maybe we can have a conversation around what is the state of small businesses today? So why don't we start with Nieves and see your take on what's going on in New Jersey?
It is my belief that small businesses are in a much healthier environment than 2020. We still have a struggle and we're faced with a lot of challenges, upcoming challenges, inflation, supply chain, labor shortage. But we hope to, get better. But we are still in a pandemic sort of mode in terms of maintaining the health of our small businesses. But we'll try to get better.
Great. And Rafael, you're a boots on the ground. You're working with the businesses. You're hand in hand with them. What are you seeing and what are you hearing from the small business community that you're working with?
I'll agree with Ms. Nieves. There is a lot of hope. We are a very resilient bunch, but there's a lot of things going on the ground. I want to point out a few things. First of all, is the majority of the businesses that we're serving at the SBDC, they're micro businesses, meaning 5 or less individuals working there. They're usually a sole proprietorship or a single member LLC. That means that they're the ones doing absolutely everything. They are the service of the business and they're the administration of the business. Some of them have personal or poor business credit. Sometimes that was an issue that already existed before the pandemic or the pandemic caused it. Either way, it does make it very difficult for them to be bankable or even qualify for some of the disaster assistance that's out there. And that is creating a lot of anxiety. People do stay up at night. This is what they mostly complain about and what they're struggling with. Many of them are finding out through the pandemic that they're not in full compliance with the state. And what does that mean? Things like in your employer accounts, if you have any unresolved payroll issues or anything with any filings with the Department of Labor. Ironically enough, those same businesses I just said, the micro businesses, they don't have a clear understanding of what it is to actually have a business and stay in compliance. And the pandemic has forced them to do that, which will be good going down the line. But right now it causes a lot of anxiety and stress because New Jersey is not a business-friendly environment. It has made a lot of advancements under this administration, but it's still very difficult for a small business to spend, 60, 70% of their time just trying to get into compliance and not focusing on their actual business. Maybe they sell cookies or widgets or whatever. It does take a lot of time from them. And finally, I'm learning that a lot of businesses do not have a strong relationship with a banking institution, which was probably the most shocking thing for me, that most small businesses chose larger corporate banks that don't really, their products don't cater to them. And they didn't even know the number. They didn't even know the contact or the phone number to a person in a bank. So, when it comes time to asking for loans and stuff like that, it goes back to, the old school, which is, what do they know about you? Do you have a relationship? If your numbers don't speak the picture, do they even know who you are? Have you ever been into a branch? So that's what we're seeing on the ground.
Yeah, that's actually interesting, Rafael. And you talk about compliance, just simple things like having your business properly registered with the state, paying your quarterly taxes. During the pandemic, there were a ton of grant opportunities and low interest and no interest for a couple of years, like loan programs. And I heard from business owners who said, no, I can't participate in that because I'm not registered properly with the state, or, I wasn't able to get that loan program. And that's not the time you want to find out that you're not in compliance, is when the opportunities arise. So that requires being a little proactive, and then knowing what to ask. So here's our first takeaway of the day is reach out to your local, New Jersey Small Business Development Center and have a checkup, just like you go to a doctor and have a checkup. You get a physical once a year to make sure that everything's running properly, right? Go to your NJSBDC and start asking those questions. Is my business registered correctly? Am I in compliance? If I needed a loan, could I get one? Right? I mean, those are probably the conversations you have, right, at the Capitol.
You filed all your reports quarterly or whatever it might be, because that's a big issue too. And it's affected every walk of life, every small bit. It's not just the service industry. It's all types of industries that found out that there was a few of these little barriers that they had to get over in order to be eligible for some of the opportunities.
Yeah.
And I'd like to add what Rafael mentioned about regulations to go visit your tax accountants. For example, there are regulations that are expiring, and there are upcoming regulations that may help you with incentives. So those are other stuff that I would like to recommend.
That's a great point, right? Nieves, have that conversation with your accountant before the end of the year. Like, should I buy this piece of equipment for my business and write it off this year, or should I carry it and write it off over the next 5 to 7 years? Should I wait till next year to buy it? Every business is different.
Yes.
Right? But if you're not asking those questions, if you ask those questions on January 5th, you might be in a little bit of trouble. So ask them in September.
There you go.
Correct. This is a good time to plan for the remainder of the year.
Absolutely. So I want to ask Rafael a quick question. So you're part of the NJSBDC Capital team. I'd love to hear a little bit about how that team works, and how you help New Jersey business owners with their funding issues. But I'd also like to hear about some of the biggest barriers that you see to business owners getting loans, for their businesses, or just any kind of access to capital.
Well, I'm going to date myself a little bit, but the capital team is like the A team. That. So, okay.
All right.
So we're here. We're born out of we're a response to crisis. A majority of the businesses that are reaching out to us are in crisis. They're in need of navigation, either for compliance issues or for access to capital. We're discovering what a lot of their issues are as we go through a call. So for example, Maybe they wanted to apply for the economic injury disaster loan, which people refer to as EIDL now.
Right.
And they're not sure what you do after you submit the application online. They get notices with a lot of language and a lot of acronyms that they don't understand, and we have to walk them through that. And then very often when they are declined, we're helping them with their appeals. We're helping them identify local funding, maybe on the county level. What a lot of businesses don't understand well is, because they see on the news all these resources coming out, they don't understand that they come from the federal level. The majority of it comes from the federal level, but it funnels down to a lot of different organizations. So the SBDC may have some, other what they call community development financial institutions may have some. So we basically help people find the right door and knock on that door. And if they need some sort of preparation, we help them do that. It really is hand holding at a level that this state hasn't seen before.
That's wonderful. And Nieves, just like sort of following up on that, once we get the clients in and we actually sit down with them and we figure out what is going to be the right resource for them, then we send them to an institution such as yours. Talk to us a little bit about what are some of the biggest struggles that you're seeing business owners face on their financial side of things. I mean, once you get a package or once you get a business that comes to you, or, how do you work with them, and, what are you helping them to massage, I guess, is the bigger question, because obviously where there's a will, there's a way, right? And I think
Correct.
all institutions wants to figure out that, the secret sauce to get them funding, right? So how are you working with the businesses?
Before Nieves answers that, I just want to say, I always took it as where there's a will, I want to be in it.
Yes.
That's
That
from my
works too.
family. So,
Yeah,
and
there
we're
you go.
sticking with finances here, right? But anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
I like that better.
Yeah.
So, Kelly, just to get back to your question, when I meet clients, for example, I try to help them organize their financials, their transactions. How are you on top of your balance sheet and income statement on a monthly basis? So a lot of the challenges that I've seen for most small businesses is cash flow. So because of the pandemic, it's very hard to get income to make it, even to maintain a net profit. You may have a revenue, you may have some income, but then you still have some operating costs to pay off. And so does that end up with a positive operations for your organization? So cash flow is a very hard conversation when talking to clients. And they may have clients, they may have receivables, but then their clients may not be able to pay on time. So that is like, a continuous effect from one business to another. So yeah, even though, and also a lot of the challenges that I've encountered with small businesses maintaining the right skilled workers. There is a lot of turnover. And so, we all have to face this. We have to be more flexible in terms of making arrangements with the right workers, because everyone is affected. So, and of course, not enough funds that we set aside or for most small businesses for working capital. We did not predict the pandemic. So we've all been budgeting for just the right amount of operating costs. We've forecasted, the goal for our revenue, but not enough to cover for emergencies.
Well, nor did we predict how long this was gonna
Correct,
be with us,
correct.
right? I mean, I think the beginning, and Brian, we've had these conversations that it was gonna be 2 weeks and then it was gonna be a month. And, here we are, what, 18 months later and still, not quite fully back up, back in that saddle on that horse.
Yes, and we're facing more challenges again. Yeah, we're still hopeful that we'll get by safely.
Yeah, well, Nieves, I mean, you hit on like 6 different takeaways from what you just said, about cash flow. Cash flow makes your car go. I say, your small business is a car. Cash flow is the fuel that goes into your car. You run out of it, you run out of gas, right?
Right.
And so you got to stay on top of your receivables. How many times, Rafael and Nieves, have clients come to you and said, I need to get a loan because I need to pay off all of these payables that are coming due. And then you look at the receivables and they have more than enough money in the receivables to cover the payables, but their clients aren't paying them. Some are net 60, some are net 90. And you say, well, how come you aren't asking your clients to pay you the money? Oh, I don't want to upset them. I'm afraid I'll lose the business. So you would rather go out of business than upset your client. And I mean, I had an experience probably 10 years ago when I had just started my third company, and a big company owed me money for 4 months, and I was told I couldn't talk to the head of accounting. And finally, I got pushed into a corner. I called the head of accounting. I said, "Look, you owe me for 4 months. Here's the bill. What gives?" And they were mortified, and they sent me a check overnight. And they said, well, I'm so sorry. Don't ever let anybody tell you not to call me. By all means, here's my number. If you ever have a problem again, call me. And that was something that I had to live with for 4 months, all that anxiety and stress. And, but
Correct.
when push comes to shove, you gotta take a stand. You got to push back on your clients and say, you know what, net 90 is not going to work for me, because if I have all those carrying costs, I'll be out of business, or I'm not going to be able to pay my employees by the time you pay me. So that's a great takeaway, Nieves. I have a quick question for both of you, and we had talked about this earlier, about getting your business registered, making sure you're in compliance. Over the last year and a half, we saw a lot of programs, grants, and loan programs for New Jersey businesses, but a lot of them came with certain time limitations, right? You had to pre-register for phase 2 of the NJEDA program or something like that, right? And there was registrations. How do you keep on top of that? Or how do you tell your clients to keep on top of all of the different opportunities that are out there at the city, state, and federal level? And then how do you get them to look at a plan B in the event that it doesn't come through? Because as we know, business owners love to put all their eggs in that one basket. Oh, it's okay. I'm going to get this loan and I'll be all set. And then all of a sudden the loan doesn't come in. They go, okay, what's plan B?
Well, and to add on to that, Brian, it's like everybody wants the grants, right? So how do you get people to rally around grants are fine, but once that money runs out, what is your plan B, C, and D of the loans? And perhaps maybe they're forgivable. But so to go to Brian's question is like, how do you get the businesses to sort of go in the right direction to plan ahead and not just, it's great to get grant money, right? But it's not always going to be available.
Or enough.
Right. Or enough. Right.
So Rafael, what are your thoughts on that?
So I'm going to appear to go off on a tangent. I'm not, I promise you that. A lot of the folks that we're dealing with really don't understand debt. They don't understand debt. They don't understand credit. And they also don't understand that our entire economy runs on a debt system. Okay. And I say that because a lot of the products that the SBA has put out are similar to what the banks have put out, and they're in the form of loans. So what Kelly's saying is absolutely right. The majority of the time, the conversation starts like this, well, I only want the grants. I don't want to owe anybody any money.
Yeah.
And what they don't understand is that when they don't seek loans or a strategy to use loans effectively, they're basically bootstrapping their businesses. And that's a huge myth that a lot of people don't realize. I know with the Latin community and a lot of folks from the Caribbean, there's this misnomer that you can, by the sweat of your brow and strength of your back, can kind of carry and grow and scale this business, and that $1 million contract is going to land. And what a lot of businesses don't realize is when that opportunity comes, you have to respond to the client right away and produce. And like you said, Brian, you may not get paid for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. In some instances, the cash flow is doing well. But instead of using loans to try to do more with less, they take all the gains that they've earned and they're spending it immediately on what the next project is. So they're capping the amount of capacity or work that a business could do. You're not going to grow. So with that said, when people are looking at these products, that's what they are. Banks have loan products, SBA has loan products. So as people are looking at all these different things, we at the SBDC, we help them pursue the ones that best fit them. The biggest challenge that people have is their perception of that a loan is a loan. And that is not the case. There is a lot of ways to skin a cat, for lack of a better word, when it comes to trying to get capital or working capital for your business. There's a lot of different lending methods. And I've noticed, especially at the SBDC, people don't understand it. They just know your basic bank loan or credit line, and that's it. And there's it's a whole world,
And just to add to Rafael's comments, I've noticed that a lot of the small business owners are not using a lot of the resources that are out there. When I was starting my business, I attended so many webinars. I've attended and signed up for a lot of SBA emails, SBDC, government resources. And surprisingly, I get emails for new grants that I don't even know. Sad thing, they're not applicable to me most of the time, but I share this to my clients or to upcoming or potential clients, or even during conversations with other business owners. Get out there or get involved. And soon enough, you'll also find that there are grants available for your business. So that's what I always tell them. And, be on the lookout for possible grants. On the operational side, if you can't get any loan, you can't have any capital to get going with your business, I suggest that you review your expenses. What can you do alternate every other month? Let's say, do you need to spend on your marketing every month? Maybe you could do it every other month,
Right.
and promote your product, wait for results, then do it again in the next month. So look at your fixed and variable expenses. What can you give up for the meantime, or postpone?
Yeah. The variable expenses, Nieves, is a huge factor right now with inflation. Your fixed, your rent is your rent, right? And your car
Correct.
payment's your car payment. But your variable expenses, in almost every single industry, inflation has driven them up. In some cases, 10%, in some cases, 150%.
Mhm.
Right? I mean, if you're in the home building, industry, you've seen all of your expenses go way up. So you have to account for that. That's such a great point. That's a great takeaway.
Brian,
Right?
I'd like to add to what Ms. Nieves is saying also, and even take it to a more fundamental level. A lot of businesses do not even have elementary bookkeeping. So before we even get to the level of loan packaging and even budgeting, I have learned that folks have not differentiated the difference between a bookkeeper and an accountant, and they're almost synonymous. So like we mentioned earlier, people are waiting to the end of the year. They kind of come with a folder full of papers and they give it to the accountant and they're like, figure it
Shoebox.
out. Yeah. So, and what I usually tell businesses is you're allowing an accountant that you see once a year paint a picture of what your business has done for the last year and possibly what it's going to do for the new year. So having a system, maybe a monthly system where you're tying things out and you're looking at your expenses, is going to allow you to do what Ms. Nieves is talking about, take your resources and move them to where they can actually work.
Right.
But a
Correct.
bookkeeper is, getting a bookkeeper of bookkeeping services, QuickBooks is excellent. Setting it up is the hardest thing. But once that's set up, this is going to help you throughout the year, even to show you if you're doing well or not. They're not aware of any of that. They just kind of keep churning the work, but they're not actually looking at how their business is doing throughout the year.
Right. And that's where I'm going to make a quick plug for Nieves, because that's what she does. So Nieves will never promote herself because she's very humble, but she's worked with some of the largest financial institutions in New York City. And now she's in New Jersey, and she runs the financial services and bookkeeping for some great small businesses. So that's why we love her.
Well, that's
Thank you,
great.
Brian.
And that actually leads into our last question for the webcast today, which this has been so much fun and loved having you guys on here. But and you both have started to touch on this, but what is the best piece of financial advice that you can give the small business owners going into the last quarter of 2021? What is, I guess, maybe what is the life preserver, or what is something that they should be thinking about going into the last quarter, perhaps maybe even to save, their business going into 2022, because obviously we don't really see a whole lot changing just yet. So what is the best financial advice you might be able to give a small business owner in New Jersey? So we can start with Nieves if that works for you.
And I have my pen ready to write.
There you go.
Yes, and just, to add to Rafael's comments again, have a sound financial system in place, meaning get up to date with your balance sheet and income statement, on a monthly basis. If you have not done so for the year, please, you need to be on top of it. And look at do you even have a budget? What are your goals for the rest of the year that you have not attained, for 2021? Are you doing better than what you had expected based on your budget? What are the things that you've overspent that you did not realize you were doing? Or where do you need to change your strategy on how to market your product or your services? So do a actual versus budget analysis, and please go to see your accountant or your bookkeeper if you have not done so. So that would help you plan for the rest of the year and even into next year. And just to help with all the incoming or the increasing concerns of inflation, look at your credit cards. Are they on high interest rate? Try to lock down some low interest promotions out there that you can hopefully protect your business from inflation. If you have for the supply chain issue that we are having, we've been having some global climate problems. We just got hit with hurricane, so that affects also supply and demand, delays in delivering your products. Do you have the right amount of inventory on your materials that you would lock for the rest of the year before prices go up? So and then for labor shortage, do you have a plan B, for example, for flexible working arrangements? A lot of employees don't want to go back to the office. Are you going to offer them, work from home, kind of a hybrid arrangement. And so, you need to work out the plan that works for both of you, the laborers, your employees, and also to help your business so that you don't have to keep training people when they leave, because we are just in so much of uncertainty right now. But in terms of financials, yes, you need to understand what are your financials, your operating expenses, your cost, and please see your tax accountant before the end of the year, because you may be hit with, you may have some tax incentives that
Right.
would benefit your
Nieves,
company.
I need you to come over to my office today. If you don't mind. I'm gonna
Go
need
through
you
Bri-
for like the
go through
next week.
Brian's books and see how scary that
I'm
is.
gonna need you for the next week.
There you go.
Yes.
Raphael, what is your takeaway on that?
So I have about 3 key points, but before I even say them, I want to preface it by saying that nothing is going back to the way that it was. And a majority of my conversations are helping people cope with that reality. Things will not be the same. Business will not be the same. Exactly what Ms. Nieves is saying. It's going to be partially remote, partially in person. The way we work is going to be totally different. But the most important thing that the takeaway I would want folks to leave with is start planning 2022 right now. Spending a lot of time planning for the remainder of this year as far as the growth of your business, probably not the best use of time, because you can use the time, like Ms. Nieves said, about wrapping up the year, looking at tax incentives and things like that, that it's a good time for that. But what we do at Gambit Services is we usually have people focus on a business development plan versus a business plan. And that's like a 1-page document. And basically what we're asking them to do is figure out how much revenue you want to generate in a year, divide that by the number of months that you think you're going to be generating that revenue, and be realistic. Everybody doesn't work 12 months, 365 days a year. You divide that annual revenue by the monthly, and now you have a target revenue amount per month. And then it's just a question of figuring it out. What are you selling, and how many units of that do you need to sell to hit that target? So helping people plan and doing that now before 2022 comes, it'll drive everything, your business plan, your marketing plan, absolutely everything. We're basically saying, come up with a strategy prior to the year. Don't just let the year come up on you and you're just kind of taking any work that you can. You're not going to be profitable that way if you're in reaction mode all the time. The second thing is price your product based on what your costs are. Stop looking at other competitors and what they charge, and then kind of ballparking what you charge based on what other people charge. They might have other arrangements. They may get things cheaper than you, and therefore they could offer that price. And then you find that offer the same price, and I don't seem to make any money. Again, that's thinking of the strategy of how you're going to move forward. And then ultimately, what we've been mentioning, what we call at our firm, procurement readiness. Be in compliance. Make sure your taxes are filed. Make sure that the taxes that you have filed show profits if you are looking to borrow money, even from SBA products or disaster products. Keep in mind that if the picture that your accountant continues to paint for you is this business doesn't make any money, please charge them taxes, and then you take that to a bank, the bank's going to look at those documents and say, you want me to lend you money, but you don't make any money. So how would you possibly pay me back? And then the conversations that we have with businesses at the SBDC is people are personalizing this process. They don't want to give me the money. They don't want to give me the opportunity. But it's just a question of getting your ducks in a row and your paperwork in a row and being in compliance. And people do get these resources. So we're talking about the folks that don't get it. But at the SBDC, there are a lot of people that get the resources once they do what we ask them to do, which is usually pretty quick.
Those are great points, Rafael and Nieves. I'm going to let Kelly get the last word in before we wrap it up, but really solid takeaways. And if anything, what I've learned is that business owners need to be proactive instead of reactive and have those sometimes painful conversations. but, call Nieves, call Rafael today and say, don't wait till you need the money to have the money, right? To access the capital.
Right.
You got to have it now. So I love that. Very, such strong, smart advice. So thank you both very much. Kelly, I'm going to give you the last word and then we're going to wrap things up.
That's great. So thank you both. And one of the things that I think that I have taken away from today's conversation with the group here is planning. Planning ahead is to not think about today, but think about tomorrow, the next day, and the next day. Because if you don't plan ahead, you're already behind. So that's my biggest takeaway. And just lastly, a selfish plug that there are so many resources that are out there to help businesses. And I say small business, but small to medium-sized business. I mean, we go by SBA standards as 500 or less employees. I mean, that's almost everybody in New Jersey, except for a handful of large companies. So use the SBDC, there's women's centers, there's SCORE, there's all sorts of resources that are out there, but go do a resource. And even at the SBDC, we're no cost for you to come in to consult, and we can even be a sounding board for you. So think about, don't be afraid to talk to somebody. And again, we're hybrid too. So some are doing in person and some are continuing to do virtual. We're, this new world of how we're getting resources out to everybody. So this has been wonderful. Thank you both. Appreciate you coming in and giving such amazing words of advice to the small businesses in New Jersey. So thank you both.
Great
Thank
job.
you too.
And I want to thank you both. But first, you've been listening to the Not So Small Business Webcast, and you've been watching it too, with Kelly Brozyna and Brian Moran. I want to thank our guests, Nieves Chanthasoto from Leisure Lanes, Rafael Mott from Gambit Services, and a senior consultant on the NJSBDC Capital team. So make sure you call Rafael if you're looking for access to capital. I want to thank all of our viewers today, though, for tuning in and for watching it. And if you ever have questions or you have suggestions about future topics, please reach out to us. There'll be a list of resources on the page that you're watching this, and resources for Ledger Lanes, for the Capital team, for Gambit Services, and for Kelly and I. So let's start that dialogue today, and let's see how we can help you run better, more productive businesses. And with that, I want to say thank you again, and we'll see you next month for another edition of the Not So Small Business Webcast. Have a great day, everybody.